he comes down as Moses did from the mountain and will have something to report. So this time it was that, wow, Florian Wirtz is better than Musiala. Okay, these are the two wonder boys of German football. So just when he has done that and we have paid him to be the best players in the universe, just go out and say that Florian Wirtz at Leverkusen is the best player.
Hi and welcome to the Fußball channel. I'm your host Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft, and straight from Frankfurt to here, I guess, in the sense that you were there working for ESPN alongside Archie for the Eintracht Frankfurt Bayern Leverkusen game. Not quite the result, I guess, we hope for from an Eintracht perspective, but it seemed that like a great experience nonetheless, back where there have been so many memories made.
Absolutely, and as you know, I do the ESPN stuff, and I'm more or less their German correspondent. I'm having the passion that I try to do here with you, Markus, about German football. And now I had a chance because there were no Premier League or there were FA Cup. I didn't work on that, so I went down. And of course, as always, it's a memory lane, but it's also to kind of remake the love I have for German football, because German football is different than English. Because in Germany, you get so much closer to the decision makers. And we have explained that before. You can have 10 people in every club that you can speak to, get your knowledge from on and off the record. In England, it's the manager and maybe someone you know that you play with or you build up a relationship. And it was great. And I'm 58. I still get inspired. I came early, as I always do, to the stadium. Yeah, first when I spoke to was Simon Rolfes. I know him from when he was a player, of course, but now he's the head of sport at Bayer Leverkusen. I had a good chat with him. Spoke to Caro, the very charismatic CEO of Bayer Leverkusen, a great man. And I had a chance to speak to him. And of course, speaking to all my mates at Eintracht Frankfurt, the kit manager Franco, I brought him a Norwegian chocolate, and he gave me a signed shirt of Marmus.
I'm not sure who got the better deal then.
Yeah, I guess he always says that he's trying to be in a diet, but I gave him a chocolate. But it was down the memory lane, Markus. And as you were saying,
yeah.
not a great game for Eintracht Frankfurt in 2 games now, away at Bayern, losing or conceding 4 goals, now 4 goals again. And as you were saying, we had different players after the game, and the Frankfurt guy was Kevin Trapp. So Archie is always doing great interviews, and I was able to have 1 or 2 questions as well, and that was interesting. But also, Markus, I'm not saying that. Well, Archie put in all kind of feelings for Alonso, but I must say Xabi Alonso is one of the guys that I love to meet. It's somehow about his charisma. It's somehow about Ausstrahlung, what he's having. And you can see that the team mirrors him in a way. They're
I saw you asked that as well. What did you mean by, because obviously when you're there in person, you get a different feel for how the team plays, and that mirroring, if you may. Yeah, elaborate on that, I guess, in terms of when you're there, how does that feel? How does that look?
Well, if you think of, you can take that into business as well. When you see a CEO, sometimes his team kind of mirror him, and this is the way I want us to be managed. And he tried to put his fingerprints on everything that's going on. You can use Liverpool, Klopp. The Klopp way was a bit different than Slot, and he got the same players. There's even a better example. But in this game, it's at home. The Eintracht Frankfurt fans, brilliant. Was a brilliant atmosphere. Frankfurt started well, but then slowly, Leverkusen just played their way in. And I'm 100% sure. I spoke to Dino Topmüller after the game. What was the strategy that he had going to that game? And I said to him this point, that even though they're so concentrated on Florian Wirtz, don't give him space. Don't just to try to be tight in midfield. Slowly, you can see it's opening up. Mm-hmm. And then out of nothing, 1-0. Okay, well, we'll get back. And 2-0. Mm-hmm. And then they'll go back. And in 7 minutes, they were 3-0 up. And I think that is the approach of Xabi Alonso. He was like a player. And you can see there, I mean, we love jazz in a way that we see the guy on the guitar, on the piano, playing all these fantasy kind of things that he's doing. But in the underground melody, if that's the English word, you have that tactic, that strategy, that calmness that I think that is Xabi Alonso. And wow, Markus, we are doing this a Monday night, and on Wednesday is the big one.
I can't wait.
Between now, it's a great game, and it's going to be so tight. But Xabi Alonso, wow, I think Bayern will fear him because they know what he can do, and of course they know him also as a former player. So, and it was a wish candidate, but. Yeah, Markus, I didn't like the result, but it was a great weekend in Frankfurt.
Yeah, Eintracht need to watch out there now. Now they've gotten the likes of a Freiburg, a Mainz, RB Leipzig we'll get to a bit later. But now they're right there in the mix in terms of having to compete for that top four, which looked more of a certainty. And obviously the factor of Marmoush leaving has had that impact. But you mentioned there, Leverkusen, sort of matter-of-factly, getting into the swing of things, just suddenly getting 3-0 up away to Eintracht. Goretzka also need to mention in terms of a couple of his passes into the leading goals. But it is very matter-of-factly in terms of how they just go to Eintracht and get that result. The same we can say about Bayern, Dad, in terms of going away to Stuttgart. They were trailing and then you're thinking, oh, come on, can we get a result from here? And then Bayern just turn it up. And then when Olise gets that equalizer, the momentum shifted a bit in the game. And then Bayern do what they just got to do, which I think deserves a lot of credit. And I think emblematic, symbolic of that grit Bayern showed and have shown. And he gets a lot of harsh criticism for it. But it is Leon Goretzka who puts Bayern in the lead 2-1. And then they go on. Koeman scores 3-1 there as well. Bayern just doing what they have to do in the Bundesliga, all credit to him. But I want to give a little shout out to Leon Goretzka as well, who's under so much uncertainty in terms of his contract situation and has fought himself from the very gutter and back into the starting 11. And say what you will about the player and whether you prefer him in that midfield with Kimmich or whatnot, but praise be to Goretzka for the application. We know that how difficult that is once you've been basically thrown to the side.
Absolutely, and I think that, Markus, we are both played professional football. We both have our downs in our career, you will fall, and it's the old cliche, but it's not like you fall. Can you stand up again? I think Goretzka has been brilliant because, and it's so easy to say do this and do that. And I remember back in the days, Markus, up in Scotland when you were out to the team. I remember the conversations we had all the time. I remember once I told you, calm down, maybe you get your chance. Yeah, but this and this. And you reacted like any other human being. And then remember, something happened and you had to play. You had to play the game. You were a starter for Hamilton at that time in the Premiership in Scotland. And Goretzka as well. I mean, this goes on his proudness, of course. He's a German international. He's played for Bayern. He's one of the best players in Germany. And then somehow people don't like him or like him. They want other players to play, which is normal when you get a new coach. But still, he's so professional. And he's coming there. He's just doing his job. And yes, standing from outside, it's easy to do the plus minus. What does it help? If Goretzka was ein Stinktiefel, einer that made bad comments about the club, he knows now that he will win the Bundesliga with Goretzka. Goretzka will be a part of that. He also knew at the beginning of the season there will come a time where they need me. I have to be prepared for that. There's also the fact that in the summer, if he's going to leave Bayern because they have to save money and they have to sell someone, then the clubs that could be in for him, being an Arsenal, being a Manchester United, they see this is a great professional. So big praise to him. It's easy to say, yeah, but he's just doing the sensible thing. But I mean, all human beings, I mean, everybody listen to this. You don't have to be a professional to think that, to be honest, when we have these rants on something, we only do it for ourselves. It doesn't help. Next day, there is another story out there. And wow, Goretzka has done it again. He was very instrumental, scored a goal. And this is Stuttgart. They go 1-0 down and still managed to come back. You got that feeling when Arsenal played West Ham, Marcus. You hope that Arsenal will be winning, putting pressure for Liverpool, playing Manchester City the next day. Then West Ham wins. Arsenal not doing their job, but wow, Bayern are doing their job. So somehow we could have come to that Frankfurt game that I was at. I'm thinking that if Leverkusen win, there'll be 5 points, or maybe, there will be 8 points, so they're still in it some way. But wow, no, it's 5 points. Sorry, if they lose against Stuttgart, and I have to do my math now, it will be down to 5 points if Leverkusen won. So it's a big one for Bayern Munich, and they're on their way to the title.
And we talked ahead of the February month how decisive a month this was for Bayern. And yes, not that by any means convincing performances against Leverkusen, against Celtic, and what have you. But the fact of the matter is that they got through February as well as they could have. Yes, performance-wise, for sure. But results-wise, they're through in the Champions League. They maintained their cushion in the Bundesliga, so they're on to that. And then obviously the test remains now coming up this week, in which we will do plenty of coverage of. But from that standpoint, credit where credit is due. The last thing on Bayern.
I just want to say, Marcus, before you go to I guess you will go to Rummenigge, because that was a big thing in Germany. I know you know my son, but I will just say that also respect again for Kompany. And there was a situation when they got that a goal that he was running onto the pitch. He showed in the last minutes, I think that was a Koeman goal, if I remember right. He comes on the pitch. He celebrates.
Great scenes to be fair.
Great scenes, and I think that is a symbol of what has been missing at Bayern the last maybe couple of years. So I think that Kompany has managed to get that into the club. It's a football club. It's allowed to celebrate. It's allowed to more or less jump over the line, as Kompany did that. I think that was a great sign for Bayern Munich.
And then, Dad, I'm also happy that Rummenigge settled this everlasting debate of who is the best player in Germany. I didn't think that it would come from within Bayern's ranks, but according to Rummenigge, Wirtz is the best player in Germany. They are desperate to get him. Just an overall comment on that debate being settled, I guess.
Yeah, like one of my favorite podcaster, Rory Stewart. I have to give you a background on this. So this is Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Uli Hoeneß, being the Muppets. And I'm not saying be Muppets in terms of know their football, because they know their football. They're sitting on the balcony. Rummenigge retired. He's still around. Of course, he's sitting in some kind of board. But he got his own Pressesprecherin, so he has someone who will do his media. So sometimes he comes down, as Moses did, from a mountain, and will have something to report. So this time it was that, wow, Florian Wirtz is better than Musiala. Okay, these are the two wonder boys of German football, and Bayern don't have a lot of communication strategies, because
they will, but they just do their own thing. It seems
they are binned. They are binned, and imagine for an Ebola Freund, because they know that Rummenigge and Hoeneß can say whatever they want. And to be fair, Marcus, they confirm what we've said. For me, he's the player of the season. I agree with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. But, there is this thing. Yes, okay, Karl-Heinz, but wait till we have extended his contract. Okay. No, we just extended his contract. He will get €1 trillion to stay here. He get Handgeld, signing on fee. So just when he's done that, and we have paid him to be the best players in the universe, just go out and say that Florian Wirtz at Leverkusen is the best player. So that has made a lot of things or media stuff in Germany, as I always do. I buy them all. I'm an old-fashioned when I go to Germany. I buy the magazines, Kicker, Sportbild. I buy my Frankfurter Allgemein or the Bild-Zeitung. They're all up with this. And Lothar Matthäus is attacked Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. Say you can't say that. Yeah, well, he just did. So I'm not sure in the department of flirting to get Florian Wirtz. Maybe I think Florian Wirtz is a quite sensible guy and also an intelligent guy. But he will see that should he do this to my mate Musiala? So maybe this could be a boomerang on it. But just to end this thing, is also the stuff that that Uli Hoeneß has made this as his big thing to get Florian Wirtz to Bayern Munich. Will it happen this summer? I got a feeling it won't. I spoke to Rolfus about this. I didn't do it concrete. I tried to be clever, but I think they have a feeling that he will stay. But let's see what's happening with Ancelotti in Real Madrid. Will Alonso go there, and so on and so on? You know, Manchester City. I mean, this is a player from them as well. Florian Wirtz. Imagine when he comes in, maybe take over the role from De Bruyne, coming in there as the kind of brain of the team. But Karl-Heinz Rummenigge came down and spoke to the people.
Indeed, he did. And if you're more curious, so to speak, about the Bayern situation, the Wirtz situation, we did do a special with Bayern insider Christian Falk, where we do talk about Wirtz amongst other things. So for you to have a look at that. Moving on into the Champions League spots and the competition for European places. We did have RB Leipzig against Mainz. Mainz won 2-1. RB Leipzig scored within 60 seconds through Xavi Simons, and we thought, okay, this might be a tough one for Mainz, but they come back into the second half. 2 goals in quick successions through key players Amiri and Johnny Burkhardt, and Mainz find themselves in 4th. And Dad, I get the sense that if it weren't for the fact that RB Leipzig are still in the cup, they just got drawn in the DFB Pokal semi-final against Stuttgart. Leverkusen or Arminia Bielefeld against Leverkusen in the other. So we'll, by the looks of it, have a pretty good final. But if it weren't for that cup, Dad, I suspect Marco Rose would be there no more. But I get the sense, at best, he maybe lasts this season. And then RB Leipzig look to get a fresh start going into the next. What's the latest on that front?
Well, the latest is that Jürgen Klopp is having a protection or have a protective hand over Marco Rose that he knows very well. But they said that about Pep Lijnders as well in Salzburg, where his assistant coach from the Liverpool time, he was fired. Well, although Jürgen Klopp hadn't started a job at that time, but you somehow get a feeling that nothing happening without he's a part of it. Salzburg beat Sturm Graz 3-1 this weekend, by the way, Sturm Graz being the top team. So a bit of recovery in Salzburg, the Red Bull Salzburg there. So Marcel Schäfer, he started a new sporting responsible there. You have Oliver Minslav, who is the head of everything at Red Bull. They have some big decisions to make now. I think it's wise to keep Rosa. I think it's wise to at least take him to summer. That is, well, first of all, who's the alternative? I think that the main favorite for me will be Roger Schmidt, who is a part of that Red Bull kind of thing. Last job he had was Benfica, but apparently he has said he will wait till the summer. The most will, Marcus. They don't like to come in a crisis and just come in. And as you were saying, they're still up there for going for the Champions League place. That is very tight. As you were saying as well, because they beat Wolfsburg, that kind of, you felt that would save his job, so to say. And 1-0 up against Mainz, and you think, wow, let's go. And talking about celebration, you should have seen, I don't know if you saw that, but when Mainz won the game, there was all Laulas in Leipzig. And for those who are not very familiar with the carnival season in Germany, this is the main thing. And I mean, my friends from Köln would probably say they are the main capital, but wow, they can do some carnival in Mainz as well. So it's going to be some celebrations, and all credit to them. But all credit to Leipzig as well. I think this is not the time to put the crisis button on, because they could get to Berlin for the final, and they can still get into the Champions League. And then you have to see in the summer the new project. For Marco Rose to save himself, you just get a feeling that he at least get into the Champions League. He at least got to get to the final, and maybe the third have to win Pokal to stay in his job.
And we discussed this before. We like Marco Rose, but at the same time, it is part of the larger strategic consideration from the Red Bull organization in terms of who they want to be. This is a team with ambitions of being. We had plenty of experts going ahead of this season thinking RB Leipzig can they compete for the league because of what Leverkusen has achieved. They're 6th in the league, 38 points. They're 4 points behind Eintracht Frankfurt. They're 3 points behind Mainz. They're 2 points behind Freiburg. And yeah, say what you may, but it's not good enough for that team either. But they are behind teams like Freiburg and Mainz, we have to give credit to as well. Mainz obviously winning that game, and Freiburg rather disappointingly so playing 0-0 away to Augsburg, but kept their 5th clean sheet in a row, and competing on that front under Julian Schuster as well. So yeah, of course Red Bull would like to do better, but I think the teams around them deserve that credit as well.
Yeah, and I think what's spoiled, and we talked about that before, that the main challenge has always been Dortmund. Then you had RB Leipzig thinking that they can go into that title kind of race. I think the big mistake, and I think they will admit that, was to let Julian Nagelsmann leave them, because that was the momentum where they had a chance. Because somehow you're feeling that if you're gonna beat Bayern, they have to get the wrong coaches. You need them to be FC Hollywood. That is point one. And point two, you have to develop something on your own. I know, and then Leverkusen comes on, and they are the ones who kind of take them off the throne for one season. That is amazing. I spoke to Simon Rolfes about that being a reigning champion, but still understand that this season would be differently anyway, because to being the reigning champions with a hunting Bayern being 3rd in the league, getting a new coach in, changing a bit around. So I think they're very happy with the season so far. And now they still could win the Pokal. They can still win the Champions League. They could knock out Bayern. I think that will be a trophy in itself. But yes, Leipzig, this is not where they want to be. They want to be a powerhouse in German football, and right now they're not.
They are not, and they're being chased by other teams as well, and some European or some German giants from past, maybe more so your generation, Dad. But Gladbach winning 3-0 away to struggling Heidenheim. Heidenheim now bottom of the league. They did start okay in the Rückrunde, but alas, they are last. It looks tough for them after going out of Europe as well. But Gladbach 3-0, they are 4 points behind Mainz, who currently occupy the 4th spot. As we said, Robin Hack scored 2 and Gomo scored 1. Wolfsburg 1 point behind RB Leipzig. They beat Bremen away. 2 goals from Wimmer. The second goal, an incredible long strike. And then Dortmund as well, obviously, with still Champions League ambitions, that they are 3 points behind RB Leipzig. They're 35 points. In a first half in which St. Pauli made it difficult for them with a decent first half performance. And then Dortmund came out in that second half, led by a couple of great individual displays by Adeyemi. 1 assist and then a great solo effort for the second goal as well.
Yeah, they were weak. This wasn't a great game for Dortmund, but go there. I think this is, if I'm not wrong, it's the first run they had this season. They won 2 games in a row.
First back-to-back Bundesliga wins this season.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This is Dortmund. The new kid on the block is Adeyemi, who was a bit out of the team. Was not a top starter for Şahin. He's coming in now. He's been linked to different clubs. Napoli was strong linked with him. And now he's one of the key figures of Niko Kovac. And 1 goal and 1 assist, and Guirassy there as well. So we'll see how they will end up.
Lille at home tomorrow.
Exactly. And when people listen to this, we know how they're doing. You're expecting them to do well. I would just say do well, quote, do well. But yeah, good win for them. And that is what it's all about. Get a win and get. You kind of have to. Dein Glück erzwingen. You have to be 100% sure that you get your luck. You have to somehow force the luck. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not wrong, Markus, the only game where we were in Bochum, and it was interesting because this weekend there was a big thing about Dieter Hecking, who is the old guy coming back, and there were stories because I read the papers a bit later because I wanted to update myself, knowing that Bochum in a home game against Hoffenheim, where you expect a team battling to win, they're losing 1-0. And Dieter Hecking was also the guest in Aktuelle Sportstudio. That is the kind of match of the day, just with different sports. and he was their main guest, and I just felt for him because he's been on a fantastic run for them. I still think they could make it because they know what it's like. Dieter Hecking know what it's like to be in there, but they were losing 1-0 at home to Hoffenheim.
They did, and they were the better team. And despite Hoffenheim getting a red card, it was Tom Bishop, the new Bayern player, joining them in the summer, who scored the match winner. One last game, actually. It was Union Berlin against Holstein Kiel. Holstein Kiel, with their win, 1-0 win, lifted themselves from the bottom of the table in 17th now. Union Berlin, Dad, after they hired Steffen Baumgart, 9 games, 6 losses. Next games, Eintracht away, Bayern at home, Freiburg away, Wolfsburg at home, Leverkusen away, Stuttgart at home, and then they play Bochum away. I am actually a bit worried for Union Berlin, considering their form, and with those games coming up. So have a look out for Union Berlin, because I think, like I said, there's a tough stretch of games now coming up for them, and they will need something from those games against all European chasing teams, so to speak.
Yes, and Baumgart, one of my favorites. It's also, I will make a suggestion for a good podcast, Phrasenmeer. You know that, Markus. They have guests, and last time was Markus Krösche. I had a pleasure to could ask him a couple of questions, but it was also a story about how he kind of discovered Baumgart and somehow take him into this is the guy I want. To take him there, which is good. And it's also my mate Horst Held is in Union Berlin. So I wish them, of course, all the best. But you got a feeling that Holstein, Kiel, and Bochum, if they know what to do. This is survival. This is Union Berlin, who played Champions League not long ago. They played against Real Madrid. They were quite good in one of the games. So now let's see.
And Dad, it is Bayern's 125th anniversary. They've had some great activations. They've had a commemorative kit, which I quite like the look of, admittedly. But I gave you the challenge ahead of this episode. I wanted your all-time 11 from Bayern's 125-year-old history.
Happy birthday to Bayern Munich, one of the most fascinating clubs in the world. I've always loved to follow that club because they got everything on and off the pitch. So here is my team, Markus. I started with a lot of players that I couldn't have out, not having on. So I went for a 3-4-3. Here is my team. In goal, could have been Sepp Maier in the 70s, fantastic goalkeeper. Got to be Manuel Neuer, invented the goalkeeping of his generation. I got 3 at the back. I'm not sure if Philipp Lahm would like to play at the 3 at the back, but he will play with Franz Beckenbauer and Paul Breitner. So he'll be okay. Paul Breitner scoring in 2 World Cup finals. What a player, great man. And Beckenbauer, wow, one of the greatest in the history. In midfield, Bastian Schweinsteiger. You can't have a Bayern team without Bastian Schweinsteiger with his bloody face in the World Cup winning for them. Lothar Matthäus. He was a 6, he was an 8, he was a 10, he was everything. Lothar Matthäus. I met him this week. It was great to see him again. He was there with Sebastian Herrmann and the Topspiel team. I went over again with a chocolate, and they wanted me on the show, Markus. I had a comeback in the Topspiel, and I told them that the Topspiel used to be better. And that is the true story. Thomas Müller, Mr. Bayern, you got to be in the team. And I could have both Robben and Ribéry, but I just had to have one of them to make sure that I have one of those Ribéry, they were called. So I went for Arjen Robben with his speed, but I could have Ribéry as well, but I went for Robben. And up front, 3 players up front. And wow, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, nearly underestimated because we now know him as a leader. But Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was one of the best around. Bayern player, played for Inter, played for West Germany. Just have a look at how good he was. Robert Lewandowski. You can't make a Bayern team because that is a modern striker, one of the best. A copy nearly of Marco van Basten is in there. And last but not least, Franz Beckenbauer said, there wouldn't have been a Bayern Munich without this man, was he? Gerd Müller, the best goal-getter of all time. So that was my Bayern 11 for 125 years of their history.
That's a solid 11. We would be also curious what you, dear listener, think of that 11. Give us your suggestions as to what you think is best. But yes, happy birthday to Bayern Munich. And with that, we have a very exciting week in store with Bayern Munich against Bayer Leverkusen. We will obviously be covering that and be back shortly. But for now, Dad, auf Wiedersehen and see you soon.
Auf Wiedersehen.